Hello and welcome to another episode of Fluently Salesforce, our video podcast on random thoughts we're having amongst the COVID crisis and want to discuss with amongst ourselves and share with you too. And today's topic is one of my favorite topics, basically being successful in a project, being successful and making people happy in where they want to get. And with me today are Jodie Miners from Australia, Amanda Beard-Neilson from UK, Daniel Stange from Deutschland, and Ines Garcia from UK as well. And I want to start a little bit with setting the stage by talking a little bit about setting expectations in terms of, first of all, let's talk a little bit about Salesforce projects and projects in general, organizational projects that also use technology. So let's assume, let's take a very dated example, just for the sake of clearness. Let's assume we're still a paper-based company and we want to make the shift to using computers, the internet, right? That kind of project I'm talking about, involving people, involving processes, involving technology. So the broad scale. And for those broad scale projects, there have been templates, frameworks, certifications. There are certified business architects, there are certified project managers. And especially for them, I would like to talk a little bit about what makes a Salesforce project so different from other projects, first of all. And the other thing is, what does it mean to have a successful project? And just a little reminder, I'm not one of the project people, I'm just one of the bystanders, I'm a developer. And hence the project experience lies with all the other people in this room. I'm really just a bystander, and my first really radical question is, okay, tell me a little bit about what makes a Salesforce project different from a project, and please tell me a little bit about what makes a project successful in your terms.
Who wants to start?
I'll start then. So for me, what makes a Salesforce project different is that you don't start with the database or where the data is stored. All of that is already provided for you. All of the security is already provided for you. So you start with the business problem. You don't start with the technology problem. So that really, really helps to get the business on board really quickly. And for me, what makes a project successful is moving fast and breaking things. So you're going to break the company's process. You're going to need to reestablish it, put it back together, and help them move to a better process. But Salesforce really helps you to move fast in that regard. You don't have months and months and months of requirements gathering, development, and then maybe making it live, and then going forward. You can have it in large projects, but I'm a sole practitioner for a sole partner, so I help smaller companies with smaller projects, and I can get in there and move fast and like prototype, and maybe then make that prototype almost even live with maybe a few rounds of modifications to the initial prototype. So that's what I like. Amanda.
Okay, but just to defend my position a little bit about, okay, you mentioned agile methodology. That's not something that is Salesforce unique, is it?
No.
But what I'm hearing is that Salesforce makes it very easy to adapt these frameworks. Is that so?
I don't know that I would ever talk about agile
anyone
straight away in talking about Salesforce, but someone else like Ines needs to talk about that.
Called out twice now.
I've been voluntold. So a few things that come to mind that I feel compelled to bring back is, one is when you say that you are bystander, you are not a project person per se. I like to challenge that. You are part of the delivering something. You are a project person.
Thank you.
Also, we talk about projects. I personally think we should be talking about products or value, because whilst a product is in use, it can always get better. So things are not such as start and end date. And then I also want to talk about definitions, because
love definitions.
Words means different things to us. And I think it's important that we level up the playing field, and maybe we could talk about what successful is before getting into the nitty-gritty of different frameworks and scaffoldings that one can apply in their mindset towards solving a problem. So if I may, you know, what is successful, you know, when you have delivered something recently that you felt, yeah, that was successful. What was that? What are the components? What were the attributes? Go.
I have so many answers to that question.
That's the master question, actually, because the typical answer, if you ask IT project people, they always say in project, in budget, in time, and in quality, and in scope, and whatever. And no, that's not it. If you ask Salesforce what they're looking for with their customers is adoption and contracts that are long running and will be renewed. That's so not in budget, in time, etc. And actually, I'm happy when I achieve something in a project that leads to people being excited by the solution and actually using it. And if I can fire up some interest in the platform and its capabilities in at least one person on the customer side, so that they really want to do this and get interested in that. That's so not in budget, in time, in whatever. It's basically my metrics of success, and that's the kind of success that people will talk about and will recommend me as a partner and as an advisor. And it's maybe me just personally helping them out, it's my company helping them out. And that's basically what I find as a successful, one of the factors where I see that I'm successful. I kind of, I don't want to talk too deep about the projects that I lifted, because it's, I kind of lifted shipwrecks back to the harbor more or less most of the time. So that is not a classical success. But I still feel happy if these people say, okay, I'm really happy that you helped us to get this through the door and working. That's a little success for me. And what the most important thing that I feel is, you have the right people on the boat. Typically, it's not the IT people, it's rather business people who tell what they actually need for what ends. And the other factor is being aware that we're customizing and configuring a SaaS platform, as Jodie said. The product is already there. You can use it from day one. The only question is how you are going to use it and how you get data in, how your processes run, etc. That's so overly important that we understand we're not building software from scratch, but customizing things to fit to a use case or a scenario. Oh, holy crap, long monologue and back from my lecture to the team.
I try sure.
If I can add some of this, is more the fact of the question here is what makes a Salesforce project successful, and what is success, and also, you know, what are these types of projects? And ultimately, when it comes to any type of project that you are dealing with, then it's all about enabling change of some sort, and of the fact that there is a situation that's happening in an organization that needs to make a change because there is either something, a competitor or market share, or, you know, their product is getting stale, their technology is literally crumbling, whatever that reason is, there is a reason to make a change there. And so it often will come from someone high up, and often in IT departments, they're the ones who are used to making those changes. But it is often the case that within a business that people go, oh, well, it's the IT department. No, this has to be a right people get on board. As Daniel, you were saying, make sure you've got the right people on the boat. But also you need to make sure that those people at the top, those sponsors at the top, are actually bought into whatever that change is, because they're the ones who you are going to need as those cheerleaders to make it a success, because it doesn't matter about time and it doesn't matter about budget. And in some elements, the scope is not so important as long as the final solution is delivered that actually is going to get adopted and people are going to use it and they're going to get the right answer that they need from it. So many times that I've been in part of projects and you start off going, well, this is the budget. And you go, well, how did you get that budget? What was that decision there? Because you literally made that up. And you have no idea what it is that you want, the outcome is, but you've still got this money. And therefore you're going to strangle the output based on this money that you came up with, when actually it's not going to deliver what you need. And there's another thing there as well about a successful project is what is needed to be delivered, as opposed to the shiny whistles and bells and everything. You know, sometimes projects are related to cars and they get sold this concept of the Ferrari, but actually what they need is just the Mini. And maybe they can upgrade over time to get to the Ferrari eventually, and maybe they don't need the Ferrari. But it's, you know, it's what do you actually need to deliver, and then look to how you can deliver it. And then this is when the agile plays in, because Salesforce can be broken into part delivery, of which agile plays a beautiful game there of delivering value product at each part of time, so that you can keep delivering something that people can take on and adopt and start using and start realizing how they use it, and then maybe ask for those iterative changes to help their processes along. Because I also find that when people are being asked to make a change, it's difficult for them to make that change as well, because they want to take everything with them, what they know and everything they do, to try and shake that off and go, what if you just did it differently? Oh no, but I always move a bit of paper from here to here. Well, what if you didn't? Whoa. So it's a difficult process for people.
It's a big thing that you mentioned, the effective and reliable sponsorship or leadership in that process, because in change, pillars of stability, or at least confidence, are so important, and there might be crisis in the project, and you need this pillar to get through that problem. And face it, projects typically will have a crisis phase somewhere down the road, and you will need to have this commitment and confidence and bond probably to build on, and to steer the project clear of any danger. So that's a massive point, actually, that kind of confidence and leadership that comes from management buy-in or sponsorship.
We absolutely go through a change curve, and it's not just the people who are affected, the end users who will be affected by a change curve. We all do. We all go on it. Even the people who are leading the projects, we all go through this dip whereby something is not quite going right in a project, and it's yourselves as leaders to be the stronger ones, to not go as deep into that dip, and to actually sort of shallow that out and go, okay, we know this is a tough part. We know that we need to get these decisions or this piece done, or whatever it is that's causing the dip. But we must be firm here, and we need to communicate that this is going to be okay, to bring everybody else through that. Otherwise, you cannot afford to sit and wallow in your own pity, because you've got to bring everyone else through that. And it's true, though. You all go through it. There's always a piece of a project where you just go, oh God, this is not working. So sometimes to get to that end point, to deliver that piece, is a success, because you made it through that journey.
And actually, the most interesting point is that there's different facets to it. The time when you say, "Oh God, I cannot take this project any longer," this is typically the time when a customer calls and says, "Oh, we're so happy! We're going to showing our Service Cloud tomorrow in our team meeting, and management gave me an extra clap for pulling this off." And I'm thinking like, I'm so tired. I'm just worn out by your project, but thank you for letting me know that you're really happy with my work. And that happens so often.
That's very, very true. We all go on our own journey on that, and it's all at different times as well. So you have to be each other's cheerleader to keep each other going. So when you're having your dip, the other people are going, this is great. You're like, oh my God, okay, bring me back.
That's so right. That's so right.
It comes to mind another way to look at this, in a sense of, if we just correlate a little bit what's happened. We talked about crisis, we talked about change, we talked about, I heard happier a few times. I'm particularly very passionate about that bit. We don't speak enough about it, super important. But we correlate, the last couple of years of our life, things gonna change. It's gonna have a massive shift. And how companies within days managed to make a shift of things that will have been projects of years and months, right? So my learning from that is that if we reduce the noise, it's all about reducing waste, reduce the noise, focus on what matters, right? Purpose. And that can come in a sense, and I'm very romantic about, spending work and what I do for a living. And so that can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
If together we have a purpose, we focus on what matters, and we reduce noise, things can happen. Normally, if you think about what drains us, what stops us, the resistance, majority of the things is just about that we need to pause for a second and reduce the noise. We are on this together.
I think that's really remarkable, actually, because, as you say, this last couple of years, when we have been literally in lockdown and we've not been able to do anything, our worlds have shrunk in that respect. And so you do look at focusing. And I think about my own, if you think about one moment you're wearing all of these clothes, I need more things, and next minute you're, well, I'm in the same tracky pants and I'm just going to wear hoodies, and suddenly the wardrobe you're wearing is suddenly shrunk, and I need all these shoes, and my God, how can I handle heels anymore? So although, Daniel, you have great shoe game, by the way, I know that.
It's still the work from home time. I don't wear any shoes. I'm actually thinking of getting a top hat, some kind of shiny top hat, because that's the thing that you can see in meetings. It's really embarrassing to show off my feet on video calls, right? So I'm not going to distract from the topic. I like the idea about purpose. Purpose sounds like something in a very mythological area for most people. And if you ask for purpose, you don't have to tell them that it's the purpose and meaning or so. But if you ask them, there's a big difference between, holy crap, I'm managing 200 call center agents and they don't get their work done. I need to do things to improve their work, as compared to, my boss said we have to introduce Salesforce to our company. That's a totally different story in terms of meaning and purpose of what you're doing. And both people wouldn't talk to you about meaning and purpose and all this what they perceive as an overhead or a myth, but what they actually mean to do and what they want to achieve, that's really the big thing. And this is meaning and purpose to what you're doing. And I think that's one of the major success factors, that someone is in that who has a specific purpose behind that project. And in
project goals are very important. Very much.
Classic IT projects don't have this. They are satisfied with getting the software. Where's the CD drive to install the Salesforce CD? I'm still getting asked this question, actually. What kind of server do we need? When do we get the CDs? That's it. That's a truth as well.
Oh my.
So for me, it's really important to talk to the CEO and to have that direct connection to the CEO, because I work with smaller businesses. Right. Have that absolutely, talking to the CEO, dealing with the CEO on a day-to-day basis, and having them driving the project with them, and really understanding their business and really understanding what they want, what's their purpose of their business. And then we make the platform work for them for that, what their purpose is. So I've got one client at the moment that's going through a major growth spurt. So it's really, the really huge purpose is we've got to make the underlying, the money that comes in easily, really seamless. So just that happens and they don't have to think about it. At the moment, it's all very, very manual. So we want to deal with that to make that completely seamless and automated invoicing and automated payments coming in, so that then they can then focus on that high value new projects that they want to grow into, so that we can build products, processes that help them with that process. So that's how I love to work, and how I think a successful project is getting that level of business purpose and commitment from that CEO who wants to drive how their business works.
Yeah,
I think we now need to perform a magic trick, because for the last 10 minutes, we have talked very passionately and openly about factors, but in that talk, I could have swapped Salesforce with SAP or ServiceNow or any other tool. And that brings me exactly back to the opening of the question. We now talked about a lot about people, and we have a little bit of voting happening. We had a little bit of voting happening beforehand in terms of, hey, what do we believe is needed to make a Salesforce project successful? And we have the people slide and the technology slide and the something different slide. And we put our names there just to signalize where we stand. And Daniel put his name everywhere. That's amazing. I will love to hear about that. Amanda and myself are on the people side of things. Jodie is mostly on
technology.
Twice on technology, even. Yeah, amazing. That's great. Because I want to focus once again back to our love a tool or company, depending on how you say it, right? Because there are now many things happening. If you watch closely TV ads in the US, Salesforce is trying to establish a new brand as Team Earth on the one hand. On the other hand, they are a fast-growing stock traded company. And we still are and love the tool because we think we can do very successful things with it, yeah, and we can make people happy with it. That seems to be another common moment between all four of us, that people's happiness, so the people that sit in front of whatever solution there is, are a bit happier or a lot happier when we leave that place, right? Whatever it is, and that we agree. But still, bear with me, we could have changed the name Salesforce with any tool in the last 10 minutes. And that's where you need a little bit of education from your end. So how do you put these two sides together as Salesforce MVPs and ambassadors of various clouds of Salesforce?
You expected a magic trick, so I just do expecto patronus. So whenever you say SAP, and then the white cloud comes and wipes away SAP. Done.
Nice.
Any more questions or?
Yes, I would really love to get to this serious, itty bitty gritty.
Expecto patronus.
Okay. Yeah.
Is this copyrighted, by the way?
I suppose I would start with think about my own personal Salesforce journey and why I selected Salesforce for my company donkeys years ago, and that's how I discovered Salesforce. And the whole point of that was that I was working in the business side of things. I wasn't in IT. So for me, as a business, as someone in business development, choosing a piece of technology for myself and colleagues to use, and I chose Salesforce because it was a tool that I got to grips with, and it was very much an intuitive piece. It was back then in the days of classic, where I go, oh, I've got a dancing man, that's nice. Well, that's a lead, that's great, and I've got money for an opportunity. I get that. I kind of miss those still. Exactly. It was these icons. I didn't get lost in this. I could click on the tabs. I went back there again. Okay, oh, I get that. That's nice. That was me as an end user, looking at this stuff. Before I then, when I chose it and then started to implement it as well, and then I stood and understood the fact of capturing requirements, building it all together. Then I was training people, and I became the accidental admin. And one minute I'm training the customer service person, and I was also training the CEO. Everyone got to learn this tool. And I think that's what's different about Salesforce from the beginning, is that anyone can get to grips with it really, really simply. It was super user friendly, and and they put enough information, even back then, before even Trailhead existed, donkeys before Trailhead existed, of this is what Salesforce is. And, you know, you can click here and you can do this. And it was accessible as a tool. And also being a SaaS platform, you didn't have to worry about this whole on-prem and where your servers and when that stuff and was it going to upgrade anytime. So didn't have to worry about that. Just pay a fee. It's all done for you. Just use the tool. And of course, that does mean, gives you that little false hope that you can now do anything. And then you go on a course and you might get certification and you think you're amazing and you can change everything. And that's where the problems start. And that's where you have to bring in now we are professionals to fix stuff because of those awkward moments that you did of learning and did horrible things in production. So, but that's the point of Salesforce, I think, compared to any of the tools. It was super accessible and it keeps moving on and changing. So that was my beginning.
Full disclosure, this is why I take first row seats in your talks every time I can make it. Because exactly this, from a technology standpoint, where I come from, is exactly what I enjoy most, hearing these stories and hearing these insights.
Well,
sorry, Szandor, I cut you.
No worries. You basically told my story. So the first thing that happened with me in Salesforce was I felt enabled. Not because I was I studied philosophy, okay, but that doesn't make me too dumb to use or to use computers. So basically I was coding and doing stuff with databases since teenager years, every now and then. But it all felt so tedious, and and this doesn't work on my machine, and this needs to be patched and fixed. And then I got to learn about Salesforce in my first job, and I felt enabled, freed to build stuff, right? I lost the burden of all those things. And now this is my personal story, and exactly this I see fading. Right? If you're not only happening in the core clouds, where certain basic architectures, where there is a certain things of how you do stuff, then Salesforce is a huge, vast sea of fuzzy technologicalness with no red thread. And this is now especially a little bit challenging Jodie here. Yes, I know. Yes, I'm exactly where I'm getting at. I will be challenging Jodie here, who said, look, and Daniel, look, who said technology-wise. And I say, yes, if you have Sales and Service Cloud, I'm with you, right? I'm a passionate believer in the power of CRM and everything that is built on CRM too. Let it be App Exchange, let it be Nonprofit Success Pack. Yes, that's a big picture for me. But these are just the core clouds, and the core clouds are getting less and less attention because there are other products that Salesforce builds and buys and builds, which I have no clue about. So I couldn't even assess if they make people happy. I couldn't tell you if they really serve a purpose or if they don't. I do with all of my heart and passion for the sales and service and core cloud, for the platform license. I do. I cannot yet, maybe, for all the other clouds. And the speed will continue to exist. That's my gist here. So, and they will continue to sell that. Right, they will offer for everything a tool because they're big enough to build or buy a tool for everything. It's maybe not the day anymore of those builder careers like we had, feeling enabled. It's like running against, oh, there's Trailhead with a gazillion badges. Which tool solves my problem? Who do I need to talk to? Which expert do I need to pay? And especially for beginners, right? If you start somehow in Commerce Cloud, you have a complete different view and perspective of Salesforce. Yeah. True also for Marketing Cloud, who has been with us for the longest, but there we have already learned what are the conceptual mappings over years, right? So now we can talk a little bit Marketing Cloud and we can also talk Salesforce. But can we talk conceptually about all those other clouds and how they fit into the account model or don't fit in the account model? Do they fit with my opportunity, the way I do opportunities? I don't know. So that's my thing here. I'm biased because Salesforce grew and I know where my place is and I know where certain places are that I don't know anything about. And I couldn't tell you if they make people happy and successful. This was my monologue.
But this is where Salesforce has grown so much that no one can be an expert now, because how can you be an expert when it is that large? And I think if anyone tries, you're fibbing a little bit.
Absolutely.
It doesn't makes it closer than to any other IT project where you also have a gazillion of tools and documentation that doesn't fit the rest of your documentation, and use cases that need to be handled completely different. From business side, it's the same use case, but they need to be handled completely different in each tool.
Do those projects actually exist in real life, or only in the heads of Salesforce AEs, where you're going to have one of these, one of these, and one of these, and one of these, and one of these? And like Amanda said earlier, great thing about Salesforce is we can start with one thing, and then we can grow, and then we can grow, and we can grow. You might want to have Marketing Cloud and Heroku and Commerce Cloud and Experience Cloud, but you're not going to do them all at once, all at the beginning, right?
What?
Hopefully,
I don't.
Please don't do that.
Oh.
Don't do that. That's not a successful project.
It's one hell of an implementation, I tell you.
Yeah. Nobody told us.
Start with one and make that successful, then you grow onto that, then you grow onto that, then you grow onto that, right? I don't know how you could even start a Commerce Cloud implementation without a really good CRM as a base, you know?
Okay. Who works for a partner or a company who does services for Salesforce people with a team of, let's say, 10 or 20 people?
It depends.
Okay, it depends, right? I know. So so Jodie is a contractor, freelancer, is a single individual, and now I'm talking to the company people, and a little bit to you too. You have your company, and the customer comes along and says, "Here's a huge bunch of money, and I want all of that." Like, not piece by piece by piece, but really, I want that, and I can pay it. What do I need to do? What do I get? Right? And the temptation is, how do I work with someone or such a situation, so to say? Right? Yes, Ines.
I know Ines has the answer.
Thank you for that question, because it just reminds me something that is happening or has happened very recently to me, which towards the end of last year, I started a project for a startup, had the cash, great. We had nothing, no technology. This doesn't happen often. We had an idea. And every conversations that we have, more ideas will surface. Byproducts potential, such an energetic place to be. And you have blank canvas, it's a world of possibilities. This is fantastic and very rare. Now, the problem with this is that, we have the cash, we want all of this, but the question really went down to, how do we prove ourselves wrong? It's really easy to find data, to get the gut feel, to whatever it is, how things we think will happen, but what is the bare minimum I can build so that we can prove this idea wrong? So the shortest time to market, to make sure that the market wants what we want, and we can learn if that's this way or this other way. For me, that's where it really drills down. Call it reduce waste, call it whatever it is.
That's an amazing academic really, approach, right? You just prove your hypothesis wrong or right.
That's it. Yeah. And
well, it's a mindset as well. So yes, it's an approach, it's a methodology, but it's also a mindset. And I think you share that in some parts, because you also doubt what you read, for example, in a documentation. If you had a different experience, then you say, sorry, documentation was wrong. Hey, Salesforce docs, please open a ticket. It doesn't work like that. And that's something that you need to, I think that needs to come from inside, or that you need to learn to challenge that I mean, the best code I write is the code that I don't need to write or don't ever write. And that's by challenging, do I really need it? And does it, is it necessary? And over years, these lines that I didn't write add up to a lot of less work for the whole of team.
Going back to
Jodie,
your
I
point of-
interrupted you.
I would really, we both, and I just would love to also get another repartee from Jodie in terms of, okay, you put your name twice in technology, and that's something no one else did. And that's something I would love to hear a little bit about. And of course, Ines, I'm not sure if we closed everything down that you wanted to get across. Just wanted to get a little bit of order in things.
No, please, like, the thing is one thing, one idea, one thought brings you to another, and then, I could go on for years, but yeah.
So I think, Szandor, is what you said is my journey also, working with databases. And, spending many years having to tune SQL statements so that they run better and write PLSQL statements that, doesn't break the database. And so many times that I broke the database because it was just running an endless loop in a SQL statement. So coming from that background, very soon after I started working with Salesforce, I also did a Microsoft CRM implementation, and it took 4 people like 4 days just to get the actual server up and running. And I couldn't even write a formula field because back in the day, this was Microsoft CRM version 4, you couldn't write formulas. You could only write JavaScript that would happen client side, and then it would save the value back into the database. And I can't write JavaScript. I could maybe write something now, but I couldn't back then. And it's just like I can't do a Microsoft CRM implementation on my own. I can do a Salesforce implementation on my own. I can go in and help a business and make that business more successful on my own with a Salesforce implementation. Of course, if I delve into code, then I will get some help. Again, I can write code, but I choose not to. But again, I'm not going to delve into Commerce Cloud. I have done a couple of Experience Clouds, but I'm not going to delve into Commerce Cloud or Marketing Cloud. So I know that these are the types of businesses that I don't work with, because I can't be their technology advisor for that, because they're so far outside of what I want to do and how I can help them. So it's very much about that. That's why I say technology is really important, because it just, all of that layers of we have the limits there, and we have those limits for the reason, because we don't have to then streamline our I don't care about if my SQL statement runs a little slow, as long as my users can hit save and the page refreshes in an acceptable time. That's all I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about all the other stuff. So that's to me is really important. Get the business, sort out the business, and so having that technology platform there helps me to not worry about that and to then focus on the business.
I think there is a general understanding that Salesforce, and sorry, but today many other applications gives you a base so that there are a bunch of things that you don't have to worry about. You can focus on the business problems, the business logic overall, right? Now, you kind of talked about like energy in a sense of like things not running as expected or being more difficult or something like that. And we talked about time and budget, but we don't speak enough about the role of energy in what we do. And we consume tons of energy. And I think it's important as well, from like some of the things that has happened recently, just because we can doesn't mean we should. Mm-hmm. So in an integration that we were like calling some documents from like some external networks, we could bring over the document, remap every single piece of data of the document, put it somewhere and do some processing. Do we need it all? In fact, we needed 2 different pieces of data from those documents, 2 fields. Can you imagine? So I think it's very important to pause as professionals in the work that we do and think about the energy that we're consuming, because we have a very good start pack, but we can make it as complicated as energy. Like you can do trillion objects and layers. Sometimes you don't need to.
But I think it goes into the part of the question that Szandor put earlier on, which was, what if the customer comes to you and they go, I want all the things, I want to buy all the clouds and get on with it and go for it. Does anyone do that? There is a reality check here, and it goes to the point that Ines just made, which was about the energy factor. And I have classic with clients that go, I bought all the things. You're like, okay, great. Well, you try and break them down. Let's start with this one first, and then we'll do this one. And no, I want to do all the things now. And you're like, okay, good. Be careful what you wish for. So because this is all about business processes, you need their time. And often they don't realize that. And they all got day jobs because that's what they started off with, but they don't give the project the time that needs so that you can end up with exactly to have a successful outcome in the first place. So it's great that you want to buy all these things. It's like going into a sweet shop and buying all the sweets, but you can only eat some of them. You're not going to eat all of them, and then you're going to be sick, literally. So you have to be the grown-up with clients as well, and just go, that's really nice. Okay, start with this one, and then you can have that one. You can play with that one. Great. And now you can have that one, and then you can play with that one. Great. Because they don't have the capacity most of the time to actually give you that time and their energy as well to make that project a success, to find out what is it they do need to do. Otherwise, you are set up for failure or exhaustion, because you cannot do it. And it makes the project team exhausted because you're running around going, right, you do that bit and I'll do this bit. But then equally, the client's having to do that because they're going to have to think about this part and they're going to have to think about that part. So sometimes it's okay to go that little bit slower, focus, as we talked about earlier, focusing on the important things. What do you really need right now? Let's get that going. And that's, again, the beauty of Salesforce and the curse of Salesforce, because you can break it down and you can have everything you want. And we have to be the grown-ups to go, what is your real goals? What are you really, really needing right now? Let's focus on that.
Rubble spot, and the big curse is that there's a price tag to buying an extra bucket of sweets and another extra bucket of candy with that. There's always a price tag, and the price tag doesn't have a logical relation to the amount of things that you could buy. It's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper the more you buy at the same time. And this puts a terrible pressure on the project, because the price has been so much more discounted if you start everything at the same time or pretend to do. I don't see, for most of the large contracts where all the licenses get activated at the same date, I see the least adoption in the first year. The project runs and they pay for all the licenses all the time that were so cheap to activate them in the first year, not just later, and don't put a ramp in that or so. People being the grown-up is really the key point, and telling them, listen, you save by not doing everything at the same time, because this is SaaS, this is a subscription model. Your cost runs all the time. Little cost multiplied by years that you're not using that thing is wasted money and disaster for your projects.
I have a personal question in that kind of gist. So I love to think hard and maybe even quickly. But what I also love to do is sleep on it. Sleep on it. Right?
Oh, yes.
How do I tell a CEO, a client, or whatever, what's the argument there? I mean, as I said, that's very subjective. I need to sleep on it, right? I need to have some time where something in myself happens, and that makes me happy with what I do, and that makes me happy with my decisions. And often it's the case that something pops up in my mind and I need to redesign, and that's not something I have under control. That's not a process I can enforce. So what do I tell my sprint leader? Says, look, you have 2 days and then the sprint is finished. What about that story, right? What about that? And I think in projects, it's the same, right? Here's all the clouds. Here's your start date. Now go, hush, hush. Here's lots of money. Do your job. Boo, boo, boo. Be non-human. Make us successful. What do I tell there? I mean, is that a thing? Sleeping on something in the world
why
outside?
Not? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Why
I'm
not?
relieved.
You can go, if you've got someone going, and I want all the things and all the toys, you've just got to give them some sort of, okay, that's a lovely idea. That's a great suggestion. Loving it, loving the enthusiasm. So you want to be able to do this and this and this and this and this. That's good. Okay, good. And show them the impact. You know, if you want to do this, then from you, I will need this, this, and this, and this, and this. Can you do that? Do you want to go away and have a little think about that? And then maybe they'll come back and go, yeah, so yeah, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do this. Okay, good. So reality check, and let them go away and have a think about it. You know.
Well, I also won £1 million. That just because I want something doesn't mean it's feasible for it to happen. I don't play the lottery. I think this idea of ordering things is not even prioritization, it's ordering things where one cannot be more than one, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to need to make the decisions of reducing waste. So if you do want to go with billing, because this is the most important for you right now, how much of billing do you need to use it tomorrow, right? In this sense of urgency. So that the next thing that you also want right now, in fact, and you do this exercise, order, right? Giving people focus on what matters. If we learn anything, is that if we focus on what matters, we can make things to happen. I
think we need to hear from Oleh. What's his sort of thoughts on project successful sales?
Hello, Oleh.
Hi, all. Sorry for being late.
That's okay.
Nice to see you. So for me, actually, successful projects is most of the time is it people, right? Because for me, a good team and a good client is very very important. So to understand each other. So when people can understand each other, then they can handle everything. So they can learn technology, they can find what to do, and so on. So it's also what I'm trying to do when I'm training new people. So I'm just trying to find this talent who is like willing to grow, who is understanding things and so on. And then this person can learn everything. So that's why I think this is actually the most important to me. I miss a lot of conversation here, so I don't know what you discussed, but
no worries. It was a great closing sentence, Oleh, about understanding and looking into the same direction and discovering each other's passions. I cannot help myself but say yes, but that's also true of all the things we do all the time, everywhere. And still, I think we have worked out why Salesforce projects are a little bit different in general terms. And we still know that in the end of the day, no matter the tool, it's about us, the people. And for that, have a great weekend, a great time, a great week, and see you hopefully in person at one of the upcoming European and American events, and UK, London's calling, of course, Madrid, Spain, Prague. We're doing a little bit of promotion here, and maybe even back at your place, Oleh. We Germans, we don't know, we're lazy, but no worries. Have a great time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Looking forward to it. Thanks. It was nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.